Hello, welcome to Dungeon Girls Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today, we're reviewing another Valiant Comics book, Shadowman, Volume 1, Rites, which has been a while since I reviewed any Valiant comics. I reviewed a random issue of Shadowman, I think it was 34 or 37, on my comic book haul / back issues reviews. I reviewed The Valiant by Jeff Lemire, and what was that other book I reviewed? I don't know. It had a futuristic rye in it, which that character is so dumb. But like today we're reviewing Shadowman. After my review of The Valiant, I had read the first Valiant book I reviewed was pretty bad, and then the second one was just like okay. So I made a vow on this channel that if the third Valiant comic book I reviewed, or graphic novel / trade paperback I reviewed, was terrible, we would be done with Valiant Comics. Valiant Comics would be banned from this fucking channel. Because like I don't buy comics. If like a comic publisher only puts out generic shit, why bother to review it, right? Which the first Valiant comic trade paperback we reviewed was 4001 AD. By the way, I had to look it up. Right? So turns out this book wasn't too bad. Fortunate for Valiant, which the book is basically a relaunch of an old 90s superhero, Shadowman, who's this New Orleans saxophone player who gets possessed by this supernatural entity called the Loa, which in SMT or Shin Megami Tensei, it's like this snake demon or god that lives in a skull or a floating skull, if I remember correctly. Which is obviously voodoo stuff. Main character is Jack Boniface. However you pronounce that, I don't know. Who's like half white, half African American. Whose father was the Shadowman. Goes off in this book. I'm talking about this book. Goes off to stop hell from invading the Earth with the help of the abettors, which are these group of guys people who keep the evil in check. I guess they don't really explain their goals. So we're supposed to think they're the good guys, right? And the main abettor that we meet in the book is Dox, who is a dwarf who has kind of like a Sam Hill, Texan outfit, despite living in New Orleans, right? So Jackie's dad goes off to fight this villain called Dark. Dark is spelled D-A-R-Q-U-E. Wow, really original, guys. Right? And they end up taking each other out and being sucked into what was it called? The dead zone or something? I don't know, something like that. Let me just go with it. Whatever, right? So, the wife of the last Shadowman runs away while pregnant, abandons her kid at an orphanage, and it time skips to the present, where our main character Jackie Boniface is working at a museum. He has a private investigator look for his parents' identities, and turns out they were criminals, or at least that's what he's led to believe, and ends up throwing away the amulet that his mother gave him, which is supposed to keep him away, protect him from evil, right? And obviously, all hell breaks loose after that. Dark summons a flesh construct in our world, which is called Mr. Twist. Very similar to Mr. Twister, the villain in the last comic book review. Who, yeah, he just looks like Mr. Twist in this book. Just looks horrific, right? He even uses small parts of him to possess other people, like these two cops in the beginning of the book, and sends them out to look for Jackie Boniface, who the Abettors, which are Docs and his protege Alyssa, go looking for him, and then there's like a big fight with possessed cops, and they shoot Jack Boniface, and that unleashes the power of Shadowman, which his powers in this book, I mean, Shadowman's powers in the original comics were kind of random, but in this one, it's hard. It's kind of like hard to tell. It's like he's stronger, he's faster, he has like a healing factor, and eventually he goes back to the dead zone or whatever it's called. Was it the Dead Lands? I can't remember. And like retrieves his dad's scythe weapon, meets a talking monkey, which called Jaunty, who also has voodoo face paint and wears the hat. And he comes back and fights Mr. Twist, who wants to sacrifice Docs to summon Dark. And Mr. Twist also is working with these group of people called the Brethren, which are all old rich people that worship Mr. Dark and who are helping to bring him back into our reality so they can live long lives, which is very similar to the whole Pizzagate thing, where the elites are all Satanists, where the elites in this book are Satanists as well, which I thought, wow, that's kind of funny. That's fun. That's kind of funny. We're getting a mix of real life stuff and real life stuff in our comic book. So the book, I thought the art was pretty cool. I like the design of the Fused Shadowman. It's a lot better than the stupid Version Comics redesign of Shadowman back in the 2000s, where they made a game of him, where he was basically a bald half naked dude with no cool costume or face paint. Here his costume, I wouldn't say it's necessarily better than the original, but it's very modern look. The comic book has this feel of, like I said before in another video, it has this feel of Spawn meets Alone in the Dark, which Alone in the Dark is basically Lovecraft Resident Evil, and I love Resident Evil. So I think if you're a fan of supernatural horror books that are ultra violent, you would probably like this book. And the dialogue and the characters were not too bad, but overall I would say it's probably a 6 out of 10. It's I also forgot to mention, this trade paperback is only 4 issues, but it's $10 US. I paid $13 for it. That's a good price for a cheap graphic novel. I would say, as far as modern day books go, that's a good price, and it's worth it. But overall, it's one of those books where I like it, but it's only a bit better than the average. But like I said, I think if you're a fan of Spawn and you like supernatural horror stuff, you'd probably enjoy this book. Alright guys, that's it for today's review. My next review, I can't decide. I have it down to 2 books, either the Metalmen or Justice League Darkseid War, Power of the Gods. So we're just gonna flip a coin. Heads, Metalman, tails, Darkseid War. And it's heads, so we're reviewing the Metalmen next. Alright guys, peace.